Hello everyone, Namaste, welcome to our YouTube channel Tutor Pratik. Today we are going to learn how to create tables in our HTML web page. But before we start, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's my humble request, please do subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell button that you can be notified when a new video arrives. So let's start today's session. To create table in HTML5, we have a tag table. This table tag creates the main outline of our table. After then, we have two sections, one for row and another is for columns. To create rows, we use tr tag. And inside this row, we will create the columns. For creating the columns, we use td tag, and inside of this td we can give the value for that cell. Similarly, insert this td tags how much columns you require. Now we have one table with one row and three columns. Similarly, to create more rows, we just copy this tr tags and paste it how much rows we want. For now, I am just creating 3 rows table with 3 columns each. That means 3 by 3 table. And I am just giving the values for the cells. Now, as a default, our table will be aligned to the left side and the table does not have any border lines. So, if you want to make your table alignment to the center, we can use the align attribute on this table tag. And the value will give center to align our table to the center. And to give the border, we will use the border attribute. And in the value we will give the width of the border. For now I am just giving 1 as a border width. Now save it. Now check it in our browser. Now we have 3 by 3 table and we have in title in our first row and 2 values in the second and third rows. As we know that in table it will be looks nice that the title row should be bold. For this in table we can use th tag instead of td. The th tag is used to make table headings. It is same as the td, but only difference is it acts as a header of the table. So in the first row I am just going to use th and another I am just leaving as a td. Now save it and now check it in our browser. We will get a bold title in our first row of our table. Now we can have another some attributes for our table tag. For example, if you want to make the width of this table a little bit bigger, we can use a width tag in our table. Width, and you can give either in pixel value or in percentage basis. For example, I am just going to give 65% and save it. Now my table is 65% of my screen size. And if you want to make the spaces between the text and the cell margin, we have another attribute for our table tag, that is cell padding. Cell padding is used for making spaces between text and the cell border. For now I am just giving 10. Now check it in how it changes. Now we can see the spaces between the text and the cell margin get little bit bigger than before. You can change how much you want in the value of cell padding. Similarly, we can also make spaces between one cell to another. For this, we have another attribute called cell spacing. And on this too, I'm just going to give 10 as a value. Now our cell will be little bit far from one to another. After this, if you want to merge the cells either in the row or in column, for example, to merge these two columns on the TD tag, we will add an attribute called col_span for spanning columns, and the value how many columns you are going to merge give the number of that cells. For now I am just going to merge 2, so I am giving 2 as a value, and while I merge these 2 columns, now I have only all total 2 columns in my second row. Now let's check it. We can see our 2 columns are merged in this second row. In this way, if you want to merge 2 cells of different rows, we can use row span attribute. For this, I am going to add attribute row span on this TD tag and giving 2 as a value. So this TD is merged with this TD, so I'm just going to delete this one because it has already merged with the first cell. Now save it. Now check it in our browser. These 2 cells of different rows got merged. Let's take one example. I have created one table in Microsoft Word. Now we want to make this design of table in our HTML. Now let's start coding in our HTML. First of all, we have a table tag. After then, tr for first row. Now as a heading, we are using th. Now in our first cell, we have a value Tutor Pratik. So I'm just going to copy this value and paste it in this. And we can see that there is 2 rows and 2 columns are merged altogether. So on this first ts, we will give row span equal to 2 and col_span equal to 2. Now on our second cell of this first row, we have one single cell which is merged with 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So in our second code, th equal to col_span equal to 4 and the value here and closing the th. Now we finished our first row, and for second row I am giving another tr. And we can see that in our second row, these 2 columns are already taken by the first cell of first row. So we are just going to add this remaining 4 cells. After then, for third row, again we are going to create another tr. And now on our third row, the first cell of third row is merged with 2 rows. So in our first cell of our third row, we will use row span equal to 2, and on the value we have gender. And then on our second cell, we have the title value male. Now on our remaining 4 cells are normal data cells, so I'm just going to give td tags on these 4 cells. I'm giving just random numbers. Now let's go to the 4th row. On our fourth row, the first cell has already taken by the third row first cell, so we are just going to add one header cell and four normal data cells. Just changing the random values. Now we done all our 4 rows and the 6 columns. Now for alignment of the table and some borders, we will use the same attributes we used as in before table. Now just save it our code and let's check it in our browser. Now we can see we have the same table design in our HTML what we made in our Microsoft Word. In this way, just by using these attributes and table tags, we can design any kind of tables in our HTML web page. That's all for today. We will come back soon with new informative videos. Until then, take care. Goodbye.